For everyone that joined last week, last Thursday, thank you. That was our first episode. Today, on What's the Deal featuring Pat and Tim, we're going to talk about making the most of Profit Max, our Max Digital pricing tool. We're also going to look at some pricing reports that are critical for looking at, especially now, some industry tips and tricks. Tim and I are on many phone calls all throughout the day with dealers from all across the country and on webinars with thought leaders outside of our company, and we're getting a lot of insights from dealers, so we wanted to share some of that stuff with you guys. My name is Pat McMullen. Tim, want to show the good folks my contact info?
That's a good-looking profile pic. Good-looking headshot.
They tweaked it up for me. So if you need to reach out to me, my information's right here. My counterpart, Tim. Tim, why don't you say hi to the good folks?
Oh, there I am. Hey, yeah, so there's my contact info, Tim at Max Digital. And you can catch Pat and I and a bunch of other guys from Max and across the industry on our Facebook group, Live from the Back Lot. Feel free to reach out, ask. It's a closed group. The used car managers, if you wanted to be a used car manager, if you were a used car manager, we'll hook you guys up, all right? So ready to get started? What do you think?
Yes, sir. Let's dive in. And guys, just like last Thursday, we're going to keep this pretty brief. Try not to go over 20 minutes. If you have questions, I saw many of you are already using the chat window. Thank you. Just reach out to us there. We'll unmute at the end if you want to ask your question, or if you have anything, just please put it in there. So, Tim, turn it over to you, and then.
Yeah. So last week we covered managing your inventory on a day-to-day basis, and the most effective way to do that was through our quick planning, right? We talked about the bucket system. Maybe we'll just briefly touch on those here in a little bit, but so when you're in quick planning, right, we get a chance to view our inventory, right? Our vehicles that are due for planning would show up right here. We wanted to focus today on, let's see, the pricing. We had a vehicle picked out. There it is. Where's that vehicle we wanted to find? There it is. All right. So you can use the search, the find by stock number function up here, right? It'll highlight the vehicle that you're looking for, and the bullseye. So anytime you see this bullseye throughout the system, it's on multiple pages. It'll hook you up right to probably the most. You'll hear me say this. It is the most important page throughout the system. All right. Would you agree? I mean, is there a more important page? Pat?
I mean, other than appraising, but I think once sure. The vehicle's on the ground, this is it.
Yeah. Right. So this is where all the magic happens. So I'm gonna take you across the top here. So again, we're gonna assign a risk light to everything that comes into the inventory, right? These risk lights are based on how the vehicle performs at your location. So a green light vehicle, it turns quickly, it sells for good gross, or it turns quickly and for good gross. Okay, right? So a 2018, this is a Chevy store that we're in, Chevrolet Equinox LT all-wheel drive. I would imagine it's a pretty good seller for this location, right? It's been in stock for 15 days. The color, the mileage, and the unit cost that we're getting in from your inventory provider. Right over here, we have 3 units in stock, a little known trick, right? You can click here and we will show you 3 other vehicles, the other vehicles that are in stock that are just like this one. If you're like some stores, your core inventory, you may have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Chevy Malibus or F-150s. You'll be able to see. Why are you smiling? What's so funny?
I just got a text from a dealer that's on the webinar right now.
What did he say? Oh, okay. All good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good. All right, so you'll be able to see and be able to make sure your prices are in line. You'll notice at the top here too is the stock number, right? Anytime you want to see the stock number, you can click to the e-stock card. Pat, why don't you take us through the competitive set, the 3 steps, the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so try to make it really easy for you, right? So the first thing you got to do is, what is the market that we're looking at, and how do we want to slice and dice that market up? So you can see here the number 1, first thing we got to do is define our competitive set. So what this is telling you here is in a 100-mile radius from this dealership, there's 154 overall 2018 Equinoxes. But we take that subset and we boil it down, and now of the 27, we're just looking at LTs. So it's taking out all the other trims, so we're really comparing apples to apples. Now we're using a live store here, so we won't, make sure you don't save any of this stuff, Tim. But this particular person moved the mileage parameter down. So when you have a car that comes in inventory right out the gate, it's going to show you from a 30,000 foot level all that inventory. So if we moved it from, you know, low listings to high listings, it takes it up to 30 matching. So Tim, what's your thought on playing with the mileage?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to modifying your search radius based on mileage, I would look at the way you want to search the way a customer would search. If you think about how a customer searches on AutoTrader or Car Gurus or Cars, very rarely do they search by mileage. They're looking by sometimes by price, by payment, by segment. You know, so I think it's good to often get rid of the high mileage ones, right? Especially if you've got a lower mileage car. I caution you maybe getting rid of the lower mileage ones, because mileage is the #1 indicator of quality according to consumer research that we've done. So
agreed. And especially now with, you know, traffic, you know, slowing down or halting in some locations.
Oh, absolutely.
You have the time to take a little bit extra to really dive into the market. So below the mileage there, you can look at all sorts of different things. You can really slice this data up in a bunch of different ways, from listings, whether it's active or stuff that was just recently active. So anything in the last 2 weeks that may have left online, we'll keep those in there for 2 weeks. You can look at different years. So if I wanted to look at current model year and then one behind and one after, I can do that. And you can read all the other ones on there. Trim, if you wanted to throw some, if there's light data set, you could throw some additional trims in there. My mom probably doesn't know the difference between a Equinox LT and an LS. So when she's shopping, like if there's a low amount of market data, should we add those just to kind of get, from Tim said, from that customer standpoint, you know, how somebody actually shops. And I think one of the most important things is where it says equipment. If you got a specialty,
hold on,
you know,
I want to cut you off. This is something I always stress when guys go through this. The default way that we define the competitive set with Profit Max is we are going to include all drivetrains. Okay, so if you're in the South, you probably want to throw out the 4-wheel drives. If you're up north, you want to throw out the 2-wheel drives. If you're in the middle, probably doesn't matter, but make sure that you are looking at what's important to you. Would you agree, Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah, I see this a lot, so be careful there, guys. I saw my guys from Arkansas on the line. I'm sure a difference between an all-wheel drive and a two-wheel drive is a difference down there. So
yeah, down here in Florida as well, you know.
Okay. All right, cool. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, that's why we're doing this. But the equipment, if you have a specialty piece of equipment on that vehicle and you want to drill down, you can. But also packages. If you know, in this case, an Equinox, but let's say you have a BMW 5 Series come on. But here, look at all these packages that are potentially available on the Equinox. So if it has a confidence in a convenience package and we wanted to whittle that down to those vehicles, we could do so, and we could just kind of look at that subset of market. I wouldn't recommend justifying your price just on that, but at least if there's a lot of market listings and a lot of cars out there, which, you know, Tim, I've been hearing from a lot of my customers where, you know, the rental places are trying to unload a lot of cars right now. So we've traveled a long time for this company. How many Equinoxes have you been in from rental agencies?
I know for a fact that within 100 miles of this location, there's 154.
Exactly. So just different ways to slice and dice the data. Once you get it to where you feel comfortable, the middle section, number 2, price to be in the game. There's many different ways to price a vehicle. You can price by percent to market, by rank online, or just type in the internet price. And we're going to show you what you own it for and then what your potential gross profit is from there. And then on the pricing toolbar, I know a lot of this stuff is probably remedial for a lot of you guys, but there's a good amount of people on here, so we don't want to skip anything. That pricing bar, you can also slide the arrow right there and price to where you feel comfortable. Now, if you look on the far right hand side, number 3, pricing proof points, I think outside of, defining your competitive set, that's one of the most important pieces on this page, because as a manager, when you price your vehicle, you can see before I hit update price and add, and before I send this online, am I setting myself up for when that customer comes in to justify my price, or when they're shopping me on autotradercars.com, Car Gurus, how does my price compare to the third-party experts? So having that there when you're pricing the vehicle and seeing how it changes. Tim, take that slider a little bit to the left just so they can see NADA move a little bit. So now all three are green checked. Now we might not want to be this low price, especially if you have a low mile per year car. But let's dive into the market listings, because Tim, I think we found a good example here on the market listings, and by taking out those low mileage inventory pieces, I think it told a pretty compelling story here.
Yeah, so when you click into the market listings, we'll show you how we're searching, okay? And one of the most popular ways to filter here is by mileage, okay? Makes sense, correct?
Yeah.
And you'll notice here, so this location, right, this is the vehicle we're looking at. It's 15 days old, 45,000 miles, currently priced at $17,999. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll notice, where was that? There are vehicles, right? There are vehicles right here for sale, that right down the street, Echo Park in Charlotte. It's got 15,000 miles. Oh, right? They just raised the price from when we looked at this morning, didn't they?
About an hour ago, yeah.
Yeah, they raised the price because they were cheap. That car was on there for, I think it was on there for 18.2. So
but look at those Hertz car sales. The exact same mileage as ours, but look at the price difference.
Yeah, Hertz is giving theirs away.
Yeah.
Right.
So
now those might be rental rockets and whatnot, but listen, it's all about the knowing.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Interesting.
But to Tim's point, hold on real fast. To your point, taking out those low mileage inventory pieces, the example that we looked at just an hour ago with this same car was it was priced cheaper than ours, and it had half the mileage on it. Yeah. So
a couple things you missed. I just want to make sure we touch on market day supply overall. Okay, so this is the market day supply for all 154 vehicles. So over the last 90 days, it would take 55 days to get rid of all 154 of those. Is that a fast mover or a slow mover, Patrick? It's not a trick question.
Yeah.
It's not a trick question, dude. That's a slow mover, right?
It's a very slow mover, but it scares me because, a lot more the Hertz, the enterprise car sales, the Hertz, especially for inventory pieces like this, they're going to start putting a lot of them out there, if, in the next coming weeks or so. So if I was a betting man, that number would start going up.
And this is over the last 90 days. I think 90 days worth of data might be skewed. That's why
the last weeks,
we touched on sales data. We'll touch on it again here in a second, but that's why sales data is so key, because that's the actual transaction. So matching is the same thing, right? This is the market day supply for the 38 that were, for the 19 that we're matching.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of groups, if you've opted in to receive click-through rate data for us, some groups see Auto Trader, some groups see Cars.com and Car Gurus, right? That information is available, okay? And you touched on the pricing proof points. I think all good stuff. Anything else we missed here?
I don't think so.
All right.
Well, one thing you did say, looking at your sales history. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and click on the stock number there. So we touched on this last week. Anytime that you see your stock number highlighted there, you can click on that and it'll take you into what we call our e-stock card. And from here, your sales history will be right there. So like Tim said, looking at your deals, this is going to show you a comprehensive 26 weeks. But if you click on view deals there, it'll actually show you of those LTs. I think he just sold one a week ago. So looking at, he sold one for 16.9 with similar mileage. So what makes this one worth 17.9 if we just sold one a week ago for $1,000 less? So just different tips and tricks to when you are looking at pricing the inventory.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay.
All right, so let's go back
Right.
to the homepage. One other thing that we wanted to touch on the pricing side is this button right next to quick planning, Profit Max pricing summary. Let's go ahead and pull that up. So what this shows, it's looking at, we just looked at one of your inventory pieces and went through the pricing exercise. But what this page shows is it breaks all your inventory into different buckets. You can look at cars that don't have a price on the far left, cars that are potentially overpriced, cars that are priced at market, and potentially underpriced as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you those, depending on what bucket you click on. It defaults to overpricing, but you can go down and you can see that inventory. So if I'm doing my planning on a daily basis, but I also just want to kind of see holistically like how my inventory is sitting in the current market, because we're gonna reanalyze these every time you click on it, because we're getting data in from the internet all day long. So if you look at that, which one you want to do, Tim? You want to do that Lexus or?
No, so this is a good example of a
Oh,
car.
there we go.
Yeah, that and the current environment, you probably should command some gross. Would you agree? This is not typical rental ride here.
Exactly.
A 2015 Q5, decent miles. I mean, it's a little high, but it's not end of the world. A lot of value. But look where we're pricing this. This is under $20,000 luxury vehicle. That is below NADA. It's below Edmunds. It's below KBB. Slightly priced above the market. And you can click in and run all of your traps that we ran before around the market and things like that. And look, I believe there was still some gross to be had here. Yeah, I mean, so this is a great tool for a manager to when I run into stores, Patrick, I get asked, hey man, I need to see my inventory. How do I know I'm priced right? I think this is a great place to start that discussion. Are you
100%.
like you said, potentially overpriced, potentially underpriced, and priced at market? I think in normal times you should have cars that are overpriced, right? Would you agree? I mean,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you should have cars. Yeah. You should have cars that are underpriced. Let's just talk about them. It's always my advice. All right, good. I thought there was one other place we wanted to touch on. That was the reports.
Yeah.
So from Max Reports, what are some good repricing reports we could check at? So when you go into Max Reports, you go into the repricing tab. I think this is a real popular one, the inventory pricing log. I get a lot of questions. Hey, how do I get a list of all the cars that we priced today? This will give you that right here. You can see, what Jason was pricing today. This car was at 0. We put it at 16.5. You can email this out. You can just print it out at the desk. I've seen people even go through their CRM and look at, have we worked deals on this car? Hey, we just dropped the price. Maybe you want to call a customer. Those sorts of things.
Test drives with the CRM.
Test drives, yeah. Another one here is this repricing effectiveness. A good way for a decision maker, if you're want to look at your inventory from a little bit higher level, this just gives you an idea of like what percentage of the inventory in that particular bucket has been priced within the last 7 days. So, his 60-day inventory, really, he hasn't touched it that often. Whereas down here at the bottom, you can see he's repricing that stuff a little bit more. So just a good way to just kind of gauge, what sorts of activities are taking place in the store.
So Tim, we just had a question come in. How often should you look at your inventory to reprice? So maybe we talk about the buckets.
Yeah. So in our event last week, we talked about the pricing buckets. Every store gets 5 pricing buckets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you can set those buckets up however you like. What we're looking at here is 0 to 14, 15 to 29, whatever the case may be. Vehicles will then be alerted to you in quick planning from one bucket to the next. I think in this current environment, you should absolutely be looking at cars at least every, what did we say last week? Every 10 to 14 days. I could even argue.
Yeah, I think we even argued lower than that. on the pricing bucket window there, you can see that this person has it. So if a car comes in today, he wouldn't be alerted to reanalyze that car until day 15. So in today's current environment, is that too long? And that was kind of the debate that we had last week. Is 2 weeks too long? You know, do we change it to a week, or do we manage it the same but use the Profit Max pricing summary just to see if there's ebbs and flows in the market?
I think that's a great way to, kind of sprinkle in the use of, this tool with your price changes. I would be looking at, I think, at least every 7 to 14 days. If you're anything higher than 14 days, I think it's too long.
Yeah.
In this environment, especially if you carry a lot of high dollar, rental rockets, who knows? But good question.
Yeah. So industry tips and tricks was the last one, and we talked about this. What are you hearing out there right now? We're sitting on Jason Rice's Lot Pop, webinars and automotive news and automotive summits and all sorts of things. I got a couple, but do you want to take a?
So one thing, what did we see? I saw a great post from Sean Bradley. He said he was talking about using video. I think in this current environment, look at there's. Pat and I here trying to get this web show off the ground. Video is the best way to get a hold of and engage your customers. So heard stories about people using FaceTime, Facebook Live, whatever. I think Zoom. Video, Zoom.
We're all doing Hangouts. Zoom happy hours with our family, so might as well engage your customers.
Yeah, and I've said this a couple of times. I think customers are very forgiving right now. It's a great time to try new things. So that would be something I'd encourage you guys to do. What else have we been hearing? Exchange or return policy.
Yes, I just had another question come in on the chat window. How do I change my days on the buckets? So that's a setting that we have to do for you in our admin tool. If you just want to, we'll put our emails back up there. But Tim, once you show them on the homepage where to go to contact the help desk, and they'll get it done, very quickly. So Tim just clicked on the upper right, contact First Look. If you send an email, store name, and what increment of days you want your buckets changed, that'd be the quickest way to do it. Or you could call one of us afterwards and we could do it for you. Mm-hmm. Or email one of us. Yeah. Return policy. That was a big debate last week on the automotive forum that Jason did. I think if you don't have one, think about writing one, or if you have one, think about, should it be reviewed? Should it be, redone?
Well, I think you should leverage it. You let people know that you have one.
But should it be longer?
I hear this return. You don't need to have the return policy. Just have an exchange policy. Hey, Mr. Customer, if you don't like it, we'll swap you out. Because if they don't like the vehicle, that's what you're going to do anyway, is try and swap them out.
The example that we heard last week was a dealer in Colorado. They've gone completely, to delivery. They're not allowed to have customers come in the showroom. So they're doing everything virtually. They're driving the car to the customer, wiping it down, and then putting the keys in the mailbox. But having a 5-day return policy like that gentleman had, he said it's giving his customers a sense of ease. Like, what if I made a mistake on this $20,000 purchase? So Google Places, our good friends over at Chris Little at Hendrick, had a great suggestion on this.
I just saw that there was an update to Google Places where you could clearly define your policy for drive-through and pickup and delivery if you're a restaurant. If you have not touched your Google Places ad or listing for your dealership to update and reflect your actual hours, I would get on that right now. Nothing was going to piss a person off more than calling going on to Google and saying it says you're open, but you're not. So I would definitely take advantage of that. So I think this is pretty good stuff there. We're running up. This might be it's our longest show in history, Patrick.
It is. It's the second in history
too. Oh, it's only our second show. So
photos too. Photos.
Photos. Yes.
aged
call.
inventory. Some of you guys I see on here, could have snowed 3 weeks ago. Do you still have snow in your photos, or are you taking enough photos? If you have an in photo processing person, are we taking the right amount of photos to really show that car and make that car the star? So
yeah. It's warmer now than it was, when we started this whole deal in the beginning of March. So
100%, 100%. Let me just take a quick look to see if there's any more questions. Nope. David, thank you for your question about the buckets. Just let us know. We'll get that done for you. Tim, you got anything else?
Hold the growth, baby.
Yeah, more gross. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone. And we'll see you. I think are we gonna do this again on Thursday?
Let's do it. We're gonna do it. We'll figure something out. We're gonna do it. I have no idea what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it Thursday.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
See you guys.